Just the other day, one of my large Bricklink orders arrived, and in that order is a bunch of pieces for the Lego City. Tons of pieces. We're good to go. And then when I was away on vacation, another one of my orders arrived. And this is, once again, more pieces for the Lego City. Check it out. This box is pretty crazy. In here is 15,000 pieces. And here we go. Boom! It is just a brick. What do you think the brick is made of? You guessed it probably. Trans light blue tiles. There's 1, 2, and 3 giant bags. That's 15,000 of the trans light blue 1x2 tiles. That can fully cover approximately 30 Lego base plates, the standard 32x32 ones. And when I use these in a combination of other parts, it's going to make some beautiful looking water in the harbor and beach areas of the Lego City. What did it cost me? After duty and shipping and the cost of the actual product, it was just under $1,000 for all 15,000 of them. So it's like 6.5 cents per part or something like that, which is insane to think, but I really think it's worth it in the end because the water just looks so good. Now I've got an insane amount of pieces, whether it be brick, plate, tile, modified tiles, and I think it's time to start using some of these in the Lego City. In addition to the 1x2 tiles that I ordered from Bricklink, I also managed to find more of the dark trans blue 1x4 tiles on the pick and build wall. So that was huge because now we can continue the details here in the deep blue sea. As you can see, some is nicely tiled off, some just has the plate work, and some is still just regular base plates. So a lot of work has to be done here to finish that off. And same with the cove. I think we're going to use a combination of the dark trans blue tiles and also the light trans blue areas or in here just to make the water transition into the deeper part of the ocean. And I think all of this stuff here actually needs to be like de-tiled and ripped out because the water is going this way, which doesn't make sense. All of the water should be flowing this way into the cove. This made sense in the old Lego City, but all of this tile work needs to be taken off and redone. There's also all the tile work that needs to be done along here by the Ferris wheel and then up against the boardwalk as well. The boardwalk is missing some pieces. I got the arches now to create the handrail and also the modified 1x4 plates with the 2 studs. And I think we're going to transition into the darker trans blue tile as we get to the deeper areas here as well. And as you can see, we still need to do a bunch of tile work here underneath this bridge leading into the canal, and the canal needs to be fully tiled off as well. And the underlying plate needs to be put in as well. So we've got to use the dark tan and like the earth colors to finish the underlying plate there. So that's a huge project, and I think I have all the pieces required to take that on as well. And then I also need to tile off this cove. So we may as well get started. So we're going to start adding the water detail right here in the little cove that I created on the end of the boardwalk, just using the water tiles. I do want to add some more detail to those rocks. I definitely think they're lacking a lot of parts, but right now my focus is on water tiles. I'm going to lay a lot of them and also the waves as well. But man, look at the difference. Oh, it just brings that water to life. Now I am changing the design of the water. I am using the dark trans blue tiles in the deepest portions of the water. I just think that makes sense because the deep blue sea in the city is represented by the dark blue tiles. So I may as well use dark blue tiles all throughout my water. I just think it's going to look better in the end, especially when I tie it together with the other water. So now we're just going to work on this section, which didn't get done because I ran out of plates, and that's going underneath that arched bridge there. So I can just very easily remove that arched bridge and then just continue to tile underneath it. I do need to tile underneath the other bridges as well, that being the train and also the road bridge, as we make our way into the canal as well. Proceeding right over here by the Ferris wheel and also the beach, you can see a little bit of a guideline going there with the light trans blue tiles. There's like that swervy edge. That's where I'm going to try and lay my transition from the light trans blue to the dark trans blue. But literally using thousands of tiles today. Like one of those bags, so over 5,000 tiles. Now the water tiling is done from the little cove here in front of the boardwalk, underneath the arched bridge, and over here in front of the Ferris wheel, and leading in front of the beach. There's this huge section which still needs to be done. So we'll continue working on that in one moment. Also, once again, I need to peel all of these tiles off, put them the right way, and go from there. Now I did add the waves. You'll see the trans clear 2x2 slopes everywhere. So we got our waves ready to go there. I am planning on adding some small rock detail in the cove as well. I think that might be pretty cool. And then I also want to add more water detail in the future. What do I mean by that? I want to replace a lot of these tiles along the boardwalk and also the tiles up against the rock work over here with 1x2 plates. And that's going to allow me to put cheese slopes and just different textures that makes it look like the water is splashing up against the rocks. When I get the parts to make those changes, it won't be that difficult to do. Just pop out 1 or 2 tiles all the way along here and then add the plates, and then I can add that detail all the way along. Unfortunately, I just forgot to order those parts, but that detail can come later. Now I need to decide what I want to work on next. Do I want to continue tiling over here? Oh man, it takes a long time. Or do I want to add some more detail to the boardwalk? Yeah, why not work on this bridge here, just because I need to fix up those handrails. They were the inverted slopes, but I want to change those up with the 1x4 arches. And then I also want to make an improvement to the arched bridge. I used dark tan modified 1x2s on the bottom of it, and I meant to use light gray. I just didn't have any. And I'm actually reducing the thickness of the bridge by 1 brick, and that allowed me to add 3 more layers of those modified plates, locking it all together. By alternating bricks and cylinders and then putting those modified 1x2 plates on the top, the rounded ones, I'm able to create a bridge which can actually flex or be arched. After upgrading the bridge, I reinstalled it and then continued to work on the handrail and made sure that those handrails were all tiled off nicely. There's still some decisions that have to be made in regards to the concrete boardwalk. I'm just going to call it a boardwalk, even though it's not made of boards. But there has to be a pedestrian access point right there, which will go over top of that train track. So I have to make a pedestrian railroad crossing, and I'll probably have to do that over here as well. Because if I don't, the only place that you can access this boardwalk is from the beach or from behind the diner there. But I definitely like the addition of the arches. I think that looks pretty cool. I also added some tiles right here to blend this in. Pretty seamless there with the angle, with the connection point. It's pretty nice. And then I also made one additional upgrade to the bridge. I used brown flex tubing for now, but I might change that up to like dark gray or light gray even. But that is the perfect length there. What I decided to do is just add some handrails using the hose or flex tubing, and I just clipped it in place using some of the modified pieces there with the upward facing clip. The one in the center is held in or is on a jumper, and then the other ones are just right over here on the edge. And I just think that gives us a nice handrail effect for that curved bridge. It just matches the arch of the bridge, which I like. So yeah, I'm really happy with the improvements that we were able to make to this area, and it gave me a nice break from water, but now I've got to get back to more water detailing. This section over here is just massive. Like, there's so many studs that need to be covered up with those tiles. Oh my gosh, at the end of the day, my fingers like hurt. I've been just doing this all day. But I started with the outside plates, and then I decided that it's time to take on the task of taking all those tiles off of that large 48x48 plate. Just doesn't make sense having them the other way. The waves have to be going inward toward the rock, and it just didn't make sense. So I whipped out one of my art separators and took all those off, and then I can just reuse all of those tiles. Also, the plate work underneath those tiles didn't really make sense, so I replaced some of the black and dark blues, just sort of swapped it up a bit, and then just proceeded to tile. So getting the entire cove done here. I was contemplating adding like a rock formation in the center of the cove. I did lay out some 2x6 bricks. I wasn't sure how I felt about it. Also, I'm really low on the 1x1 cheese slopes in like trans clear and other trans clear elements. And I mentioned that I wanted to get more of those so I can add more like detail of the water like splashing up against the rocks and against the boardwalk and all that. And I do want to get more of those as well, so I can increase the size of and also increase the complexity and detail of the waves. So for now, like, they don't look complete, and believe me, I plan on adding a lot more texture around the waves so they're a little bit more robust. It's going to be very easy to just pop out a few tiles around the waves and then just use those parts to give them a little bit more detail. So this is like the final section of the raise here. It is the dark blue section. So I'm just transitioning it from light to dark blue. I'm mixing in a lot of the tiles at the beginning, and then the light trans blue ones become a little bit more sparse as you go toward the edge of the table. And I think it looks pretty good. And once I actually like connect it to the deep blue sea where the boat harbor is, and also change the tiling around the lighthouse, it's gonna look pretty sweet. But there we go, everybody. It's been a long day of tiling. Holy, that took forever, but it's totally worth it in the end. Because I just love that water detail. Like, that is totally worth it. It looks so cool. Oh my gosh. I realize it's one large ocean right now. Like, this is a lot of space right here to dedicate to water. Like, that's just water. Like, that's all it is. There's no detail or anything. Well, I would say that the water looks very detailed, but there's not really any stories in there right now, and I can definitely use this space and plan to use this space to tell a bunch of stories with minifigures, of course, because I need to redo all the stories on my beach and tidy this all up. For example, we can have swimmers just hanging out in the water. You just remove a tile, remove their legs, and then you can have them swimming, and I plan to have a bunch of minifigures all over the place just like that. Plus we can have surfers and windsurfers and small boats, and we could just make something pretty cool in this area. And as I was mentioning, I do want to just like pop out a few tiles around the waves and add some more cheese slopes like the transclear ones there. And I also want to make the waves a little bit larger in some areas just by giving them more detail, but I just don't have those parts right now. So I guess I'm already starting to work on my next order list. I also want to add more detail to these rocks here. I don't think these rocks are quite up to snuff yet, so I'll probably work on that in the near future as well. And then the sand and all that as well, like the beach, I need to start working on the detail of that. I want to add more textures of sand, more variety, more stories as well with minifigures. And then I also want to add some elevation back here. I'm not sure if the skate park is going to stay there or not either. And then as you see the transition into the dark blue, I think that looks pretty good, just representing the deeper water. And I think it'll make even more sense and look better when I actually link it to the lighthouse and also the deep blue sea. Because I'll change some of these tiles out here so that they're dark blue in the deeper sections, and then I'll have to put a little bit of light blue around the edge of the rock here, and then we'll transition into the darker blue as we work our way into the harbor, which I did not get a chance to do today because, my gosh, that was over 5,000 tiles that I laid today. We got 3 large bags, as you saw at the beginning of this video, and I used 1 bag and a bit from a second bag. So pretty crazy how many tiles we used today, but definitely worth it. I love the tiles going underneath this angled boardwalk as well. There was a little bit of a gap there, so that gap is no longer there, which is beauty. I think this looks super clean. I could probably clean this up maybe with like a hinge brick though. Just get rid of one of these 1x4s, but you can see all the arches that I laid there along with the tiles. I think that looks pretty clean. And so does this bridge here. And then also the cove as well. Need to add some more cove-like details to those rocks though, that's for sure. And then I've been talking about adding elevation using bricks all throughout the city, and that still needs to happen on all of this green space all around. It's just a matter of time. Just try to do it in a detailed way, just like this water here. I think the water looks good. It's just pending a few things like the increase in size of the waves and also the addition of the fun minifig stories, and I can't wait for that. That's going to be really cool too, just sort of take it to a new level. But my gosh, look at that. So happy with the results of today. Thank you so much for coming on by. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for some more great stuff coming out in the very near future. And farewell.